Hey yo, what is up everybody, Chuck here, and welcome to another Pokemon Go video, and today we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. So the game has been out for over 3 months now, and there's a bunch of updates that we've been promised that we haven't seen yet. In fact, I would argue that some of the updates that have happened at Pokemon Go in the past couple months have made the game a little bit worse. We're going to start this video off with tracking. We all know that's the biggest complaint of Pokemon Go players. There is no tracking system. Recently, Pokemon Go has actually taken down a bunch of the third-party tracking sites, which kind of leaves us in the dark. The current system we have right now works in the sense that Pokemon on your nearby list are in fact nearby. But I've had 4 Pokemon spawn in my apartment at the same time, and none of them were in the 3 nearest Pokemon on my nearby list, which makes no sense at all. So the list doesn't actually work. In fact, I would argue that the tracking system we had right when the game came out was absolutely perfect. You could walk outside. If a Pokemon was 1 footstep away and you walked in one direction and it became 2 footsteps away, that meant you were going the wrong direction. You turn around and it was that easy. Nowadays, you go outside, you have no idea if you're getting closer or further from Pokemon, and I think that adds to people's frustration, because that rare opportunity you get to find a Snorlax or an Aerodactyl or a Dragonite, you don't know if you're going the right direction. And with no tracking system on a third-party website, you're in the dark. You have no idea where you're going. I would honestly say that that's the #1 thing they need to fix about the game, and that would probably bring a lot of people back to playing it. I also had a really cool idea sent in on Twitter, and basically he said that if you come across a Pokemon nest, which if you're not aware of what they are, basically 4 or 5 of the same Pokemon will spawn in the same general area in a short period of time. If you come across a nest, you should see like leaves rustling. You guys remember at the beginning of the game, randomly leaves would be rustling. We never really found the purpose of it. I don't think it meant there were Pokemon there, but I think it would be really cool if you're driving or you're walking and all of a sudden you see leaves rustling, especially if you're in a city you've never been. You're like, holy shit, I'm about to find a nest. You go over there and you see a bunch of Pokemon pop up. I think that would be awesome. But let's move on to the next topic, and that is that legendary Pokemon need to be released or revealed. Right now, Ditto, Mew, Mewtwo, Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos, we don't know where they are. We don't know if they're coming. We don't know if they're going to be in the game at all. Developers have hinted at the fact that Ditto may be in the game. We don't know if it's an Easter egg or you can catch it in the wild, but there needs to be some sort of hint. Eventually, people get frustrated, give up, don't care anymore. I don't think they want that to happen. So if Ditto is in fact in the game, maybe a hint when you log in. If every single day they gave every person who logged in a hint, just something really, really subtle that gives people a reason to speculate, that would be enough to keep people's interest. There's also been rumors that Mew and Mewtwo will only spawn at events hosted by Niantic, Pokemon battles, Pokemon Go meetups, stuff like that. I don't think that's the right way of going about it. I think what they should do is either spawn incredibly infrequently, like maybe once a day they spawn in one portion of the entire world, or maybe like once per continent per day for like a minute or 2 at a time. And remember that hysteria when the game first came out? People would take videos of Central Park and Santa Monica Pier, and somebody would shout out there was a Dragonite, and you would see hundreds if not thousands of people running to go catch it. I think that hysteria is what made the game so cool and so popular right away, and I really think that that would be a good way to bring it back, is by releasing these legendary Pokemon, maybe even incorporate a 20 or a 50 or 100k egg that you get even less frequently than a 10k egg, and they would have the chance of giving you a Mew or a Mewtwo or one of the legendary birds or something. Just something to give us new Pokemon to go after. We'll talk about that later, but let's move on. The third topic, trading. A lot of people want trading, but I think there needs to be some limitations for it. For example, what I could do if they incorporate trading and you can trade with absolutely anybody, I would make a video and say, hey, everybody trade me your best Pokemon. Instantly, I would probably have a really, really stacked Pokedex. I'd probably have 100 Dragonites over 3000 CP. I don't think that's fair. I think what they should do is either have special Pokestops that they can turn into Pokecenters, or just have to be at a Pokestop with somebody else. Click on their name, it'll pop up if you're both within range of a Pokestop, and you can trade with them. Maybe even have it limited to trading with people of your own team, so I could only trade with Team Mystic players, Valor with Valor, Instinct with Instinct, and so on, because otherwise the whole team thing doesn't really have much effect except for when you're taking over a gym. Now, the developers have hinted at bringing Pokecenters into Pokemon Go, but that was a couple months ago. That was in July, a couple weeks after the game came out. We've heard nothing since. But it would be cool to have an area where you can bring all of your Pokemon. They will heal without you having to waste their potions or whatever. Not that I use any of them. Or where you can exchange your items, trade items with other players, even have new items that you can only get from Pokecenters. I think it'd be a really cool incorporation to the game. We'll see what happens. Now we're gonna go on to a section that I'm just gonna call variety. There needs to be more variety in the game, okay? I think what holds people back in Pokemon Go is when you open up your app, you kind of know exactly what's gonna happen. You open it up, Pidgey, Rattata, Paris. You close it because you're pissed off that you can't find the Pokemon you need, right? There needs to be more variety, okay? And I think that starts with completely revamping all of the spawns of Pokemon, right? So in my area, it's not uncommon to find a Cubone or a Growlithe or a Ponyta or an Abra or a Meowth or whatever. But in other places, that's considered rare for people. Whereas where that would be rare, they have a bunch of Machops or Clefairy or Jigglypuff or Coughing or Grimer, and we have none of those here. Why not completely switch it up? I'm not talking about spawning a Gyarados on top of me in the middle of Colorado. Obviously that wouldn't make any sense, but at least switch up like the land Pokemon with the land Pokemon, move the water Pokemon around. Obviously the game is meant to make you explore, but I don't think it should be necessary to have to buy a plane ticket to a really populated area just to complete the Pokedex. Now I think another idea that'll add a little bit of variety to the game would be to incorporate Team Rocket. And the way in which I think would be a good idea, this was actually suggested by Assassin over on Twitter, incorporate it so that maybe 1 in every 100 Pokestops, you'd have like a 1% chance of running into Team Rocket at a Pokestop. You swipe, you collect all your items, and all of a sudden you get a message that pops up and says, Team Rocket has taken your buddy Pokemon and your egg and all of your Pokeballs or whatever, and the only way you can get them back is to beat them in a battle. Now the battle wouldn't be difficult, but it would at least give you some sort of variety so you're not like blindly just collecting items from Pokestops nonstop. And then after you defeat them in a battle, you get your stuff back, you get your buddy Pokemon back, and maybe you get 3 candies for your buddy Pokemon for defeating them. Another idea, speaking of buddy Pokemon, is that with your buddy Pokemon, you should be able to get a random amount of candies per distance walk. So let's say you walk your 1K with your Magikarp as your buddy, which is what I have right now. I suggest that maybe with 95% frequency, you get that 1 candy every kilometer. But then there's a 5% chance you get maybe 2 candies or 3 or 5 or maybe even like a 0.001 chance of getting 10 candies per kilometer. That would encourage people to get back off their ass like me, go outside, walk around and try and hatch more eggs, get more candies, everything. And another idea to incorporate more variety and kind of to relieve some of the stress of the game would be to incorporate items that would allow you to teach your Pokemon a new move. Because we've all been there where you catch a Pokemon or you hatch a Pokemon or you evolve a Pokemon and you've been working towards it for a month and then you look at it and you're like, that is the shittiest moveset I've ever seen for a Pokemon, right? You should be able to teach them a new move so you haven't just wasted a month of your time. Now maybe they incorporate these items into a Poke Center or a Pokestop that you can just get from spinning and visiting, or you buy them from the shop. But either way, it would kind of decrease the level of frustration when you have a bad Pokemon and you want to make it better. So that basically covers it for that section, and we're gonna move on to the first one, and I think everybody knows what this is gonna be. We need Generation 2. We've been stuck with 142 Pokemon or more if you decide to cheat, which I'm not a fan of. We've been stuck with 142 Pokemon for 3 months, right? Within a month, people have already completed the Pokédex, which kind of discourages people from trying the game out. You know, if you know somebody's already beaten the game and it's kind of like a race to collect things, it kind of defeats the purpose of playing it, right? If they introduce the next gen, not only would some of the Pokemon in current gen like Onix and Zubat and Eevee and stuff like that have more meaning, but there'd also be 100 new Pokemon to catch, which would be infinitely cooler. You know, opening up the app and not seeing only a Pidgey and a Rattata nearby would be fantastic. I would love that. But I want to know what you guys think. Did we cover everything? A lot of people suggest battling should be brought to Pokemon Go. However, I don't think that's the point of it right now. It would be cool if you could battle your friends or whatever from across the world and gain candies for your Pokemon, but I think people can take advantage of that, and I don't know if Niantic wants to go down that road. If you have any other suggestions that we didn't talk about at all, or you just have something really cool that you've never heard anybody mention, leave it in the comment section below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Have your notifications turned on if you're subbed. If you're not subbed, you should sub. I love you guys. Take it easy. Peace.